Well, good afternoon, everybody, on this sort of gray but still pleasant day. We're really excited to have you all take some time out of your day to come and hear this presentation on our home hospital program. We have a really interesting program and are looking forward for your questions and comments. So thanks again. I'll come back at the end to talk a little bit about some of the latest COVID updates. And with that, I will introduce Susan Edgman-Levitan, who is the director for the Stokel Center for Primary Care Innovation. Susan, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. So welcome, everybody. We're very happy you could join us today. And I'm just going to get started with our usual housekeeping information, and then we'll go to introduce our speaker for today. So the first thing is that we mute everyone so we eliminate any background noise. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. You can view the speaker on your full screen, or you can use the gallery view where you can see the speaker and all of the participants. And to do that, you go up to the little button at the top right-hand corner that says View, and you can change whether you want to just see the speaker and the slides, or whether you also want to see the speaker and everyone else who's on the call today along with the slides. If your picture becomes jumpy or gets out of sync, turn your video off, and that will probably help your connectivity. And to do that, you go to the bottom left-hand corner and click on the little video camera that says Stop Video, and that will turn your picture off. For questions, please use the chat feature, which is in the center of the banner across the bottom of your screen, and put in any questions that you might have, and we will do our best to get through all of them. One word of caution is please don't add any personal medical information, because everything you put in the chat can be seen by everyone on the call. So we definitely want to protect your privacy. We're covering a lot of information today, but the recording of this Town Hall will be on the MGH YouTube channel. It will also be on the Geriatric Medicine website and other sites across MGB. So it is now my great pleasure to introduce Heather O'Sullivan, who is going to be our speaker today about the work under her with healthcare at home at Mass General Brigham. Heather is a leading expert on healthcare innovation and transformation. She's the president of Healthcare at Home at Mass General Brigham, where she leads operations of one of the country's largest home hospitals. She has 3 decades of experience and unrivaled knowledge and insight on strategic innovation and rapid growth initiatives in clinical and payer spaces. Under her leadership, Mass General Brigham's patients receive the best in class acute level hospital services as those at the system's nationally recognized medical centers, but from the comfort of their homes. Most recently, she spearheaded a novel cross-sector partnership with Best Buy Health that will forge technological solutions, define and optimize care delivery across the continuum of needs in the home setting. And it will also create opportunities to enable the next generation of healthcare at home workforce. These accomplishments contributed to Heather being recognized as the top innovator of the year by Modern Healthcare in 2023. Heather is a lifelong resident of Massachusetts. She resides in Bolton with her husband and their black lab, and she enjoys spending time with her 2 adult children in the New England region. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Heather, and we're going to learn a lot today about the Mass General Brigham Home Hospital. So Heather, welcome.
Thank you, Susan. In addition, I am a geriatric nurse practitioner. So as Susan and Matt mentioned, I'm here to discuss home hospital, what it is not, and how you can access it through Mass General Brigham. But to begin with, I'll share a more broad context on the strategic imperative of the new healthcare at home division within Mass General Brigham. At Mass General Brigham, what is most important is that we provide care across the entire continuum. We're going to come back to the importance of home hospital, yet first let's talk about the why for healthcare at home division overall. I will share in advance that the nomenclature can be tricky. There's a lot of H's coming your way. So feel free to ask for a refresh at the close of our time together. We'll have plenty of time for questions, and my contact information will also be shared. So to level set, healthcare is changing. Consumers like yourself want choice for how and where they receive their care. Technology, as Susan mentioned, is enabling new alternatives to traditional settings of care. We all know healthcare costs are rising and clinicians are burnt out, and we can do a better job in delivering quality clinical outcomes at home. There are many care offerings in the home setting across the full continuum of patient needs. However, today, we will review the differences between two specific services: home hospital emergency care and home hospital. It's important to clarify that neither of those two services, home hospital emergency care or home hospital, are hospice or home health. In fact, they're very different patient cohorts and economics of each. And regarding home health, at MGB, we refer to this service as Mass General Brigham Home Care. Or across the general population, some individuals use the term collectively known as Visiting Nurses Association. And again, it's not being discussed today. We'll save the conversation of hospice and home care for another time. So of our two topics today, I'm going to start with home hospital emergency care. It's a pilot. It is in very early stages and it is small. Then we'll spend the majority of our time on our biggest priority and what is growing in popularity across the United States, which is home hospital. First up, home hospital emergency care. What is it? It's a paramedic visit ordered by a primary care doctor for an urgent or episodic assessment in the patient's home. And they have clinical oversight by emergency medicine physician remotely. It's a very small program. One of the amazing opportunities we have as one of the largest teaching and research hospitals in the world is the opportunity to explore and solve the clinical problems of today and tomorrow. Data from the home hospital emergency care study that we are currently conducting will help determine the future state of this service. In the interim, home hospital emergency care will be available on a limited basis through a randomized formal clinical trial. And like most other research efforts, funding and results will determine the next steps. But now on to the star of our show, home hospital. There are currently 300 hospitals in the United States today who have been approved to deliver acute hospital care at home. Mass General Brigham has 5 of the over 300 hospitals, and this type of care is not exclusive to the United States. It's operational in several other countries. Australia, for example, has a very large program, and acute care delivery in the home is an expected and normalized offering. Overall, home hospital offers an alternative to traditional hospital brick and mortar setting of care for a certain set of conditions. Home hospital provides all the expert medical services a patient would expect in a typical hospital setting, and sometimes more. These include meals, transportation, labs, radiology, ultrasound, oxygen, medications, vital sign monitoring, IV hydration, nursing evaluations, personal care assistant, paramedic interventions, and physician or advanced practice provider management, all in the comfort and privacy of their home. It's almost too good to be true, right? Our efforts in Mass General Brigham started in 2016 out of our 2 academic medical centers, initially at the Brigham. Then in 2020, related to hospital capacity constraints during the pandemic, CMS developed the Acute Hospital Care at Home Waiver, which provided a favorable regulatory and reimbursement opportunity to deliver greater access to care for all. The pandemic and our system's strategic focus on delivering care in the home accelerated the growth of Mass General Brigham Home Hospital to what it is today, which is the largest nonprofit service line in the country. We operate 5 waivers through standalone brick and mortar facilities in the greater Boston area at Salem, Newton Wellesley Hospital, Mass General Hospital, the Brigham, and the Faulkner. And we're continuing to grow our coverage area. Right now, our area addresses more than 75% of the eligible patients that our system serves, providing acute hospital level care at home where they feel most comfortable. At Mass General Brigham Home Hospital, our patients come first and are at the center of everything we do. Since 2022, we've delivered more than 3,000 acute hospital episodes of care. So who's eligible? Today, we care for patients from a variety of economic backgrounds, those with private insurance and also those on Medicare. Other criteria for home hospital is that patients must reside within a geography of 30 minutes of one of our participating 5 hospitals. They must be over the age of 18. Their clinical status must not be at high risk for worsening. The patient must meet national inpatient reimbursement guidelines, which is common for all other patients that we see in our system and across the US today. Our patients must have a safe home environment and functioning utilities. And the most common diagnoses that we see are chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, congestive heart failure, skin infections, pneumonia, influenza, COVID is still out there, urinary tract infections, exacerbations of chronic illnesses, and more. We are excited to begin to offer post-surgical patients the option to recover at home and are looking into serving oncologic and also pregnant hypertensive cases. In our country today and at Mass General Brigham, for a patient to qualify for a home hospital episode of care, CMS requires an initial evaluation of the patient's condition to be completed in a traditional hospital setting, typically in an emergency room or an inpatient floor, which is identical to the assessment that would occur if the patient were to be admitted to a traditional hospital inpatient unit. I somewhat refer to this as the touch and go. Our nurses, our providers, our paramedics, our personal care assistants, and therapists all play a crucial role in delivering world-class, hospital-level clinical care in our patients' homes, ensuring as the patient is comfortable, understands their illness, and we also provide 24/7 remote vital sign monitoring. We deliver multiple in-person visits every day, and we use sophisticated telehealth technology, including two-way text and video communication to ensure continual access to each patient's clinical team. Our multidisciplinary care team provides exceptional care to our patients and offers a sense of confidence to patients' families, their community supports, and loved ones. A benefit to this approach to care is that the patient's extended support circle can conveniently meet and interact with our clinical team while they are providing in-person care at home. We hear feedback that this is tremendously positive for in-person learning and overall enhanced communication with the care team. In addition to having a positive impact on our patients and our family caregivers, the home hospital model also greatly reduces strain on hospitals' doctors and nurses. Home hospital offers an equivalent enhanced course of recovery without the inherent risks of traditional hospital settings, such as exposure to hospital-acquired infections, falls in an unfamiliar setting, or worsening cognitive status because of the change in an individual's routine or surroundings. The benefits of home hospital include greater patient and caregiver satisfaction and improved clinical outcomes. A recent study of national data led by Mass General Brigham Researches highlighted lower mortality rates, enhanced physical activity, fewer future hospitalizations, and less use of skilled nursing facilities, for patients taken care of in their home setting instead of in a traditional hospital environment. Now, it's important to mention that you have a sense of the care model that without Congress reauthorizing the acute hospital at home waiver before December 31st, 2024, this program will end, and Medicare recipients will lose access to this important benefit that they have come to rely on. However, indications are positive that we will receive a continuation. It has bipartisan support, yet this is a time for advocacy and a call to action with our policymakers. There's really no greater patient-centered, equitable approach than having the choice to receive sophisticated, coordinated, acute medical care in the privacy of our own surroundings. Today, you heard about our small home hospital emergency care offering in the pilot phase, and mostly you heard about the future of care, which is in the home, specifically the choice to receive traditional acute level inpatient care now in the privacy of your home through Mass General Brigham Home Hospital. I'll be happy to open it up for questions and discussion.
Thank you. We do have a question, and that is home hospital available to MGH patients in New Hampshire?
It would not be available to patients in New Hampshire because it would be outside of the 30-minute requirement that we have with CMS.
Okay. Can you say a little bit, this is my question, can you say a little bit about the food delivery? Is the food delivered to the home every day for the patient?
The food is delicious. I've actually had the opportunity to test it myself. It comes from a Boston agency called Community Servings, and it is medically tailored. So yes, it can come daily. It can also come in a bit of a upfront delivery because our patients typically are on the home hospital for about 3 to 5 days.
Okay. Okay. And do people have a choice of the food they get?
Similar to if you were in a traditional hospital environment. For example, if you were hospitalized for an exacerbation of congestive heart failure, you would likely be on a low sodium diet. You would also receive the lower sodium meals at your home.
Okay, so we have another question, and that is this a good substitute for nursing homes? And there are a few other questions, but I'm going to let you answer the first one before we go on.
At the beginning of the conversation, I mentioned we were going to talk about what home hospital is and what it is not. And home hospital is not a replacement to nursing homes or skilled nursing facilities. Traditionally, individuals access skilled nursing facilities either for a very long-term or permanent placement or for acute rehab. In both of those scenarios, the length of stay is much longer than home hospital. Home hospital, again, is a typical, at the ends of the spectrum, 3 to 7 days length of stay, just as if you were in a traditional brick and mortar unit at any of our hospitals in Mass General Brigham.
Okay, thank you. Do you need to have Mass Health to participate in home hospital?
We are agnostic to payer of services. So you do not need to have Mass Health. You can have commercial payers. I won't mention any specifically. You can have Medicaid, Mass Health, Medicare, etc.
Okay. And what happens if people cannot, if they are unable to answer the door? Is that a criteria that would prevent them from being in the home hospital program?
It depends. As I mentioned, we have certain safety criteria. We also offer what many of us call home health aides or certified nursing assistants as needed during the course of care. And so I can imagine a scenario where a patient could choose home hospital and have the home health aid service if they were not mobile per se to answer their door.
Okay, that's great. That's really helpful. Can you say a little bit more about the differences between this service and visiting nurse care?
Right. Again, thank you for asking for the clarification. And as I mentioned, Mass General Brigham is committed to delivering services in the home across the entire continuum. And it really gets back to the expected length of stay for a patient. So for someone that requires visiting nurse services that we refer to as Mass General Brigham home care, it is physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, nursing care, perhaps for wound changes, etc. That type of care is traditionally runs across 1 to 2 months, and it follows an acute stay. So you can imagine a scenario where you would receive home hospital in your home for 3 to 7 days, and then you would transfer into Mass General Brigham home care, or what has been called historically VNA.
Right. That's very helpful. So say a little bit more about what happens if the program does not receive a waiver in the future. What would happen to people that are participating in the program?
I'm hopeful that everyone on this call today will be champions along with myself and our team and Mass General Brigham, and be advocates from now until the end of the year. I think that it is highly unlikely that the program will be discontinued. I think that there will be some adjustments to the program. Right now, we receive full parity or full payment under the CMS waiver that could be adjusted slightly. And we need more proof points. We need more data to continue to help everyone understand the amazing clinical outcomes that can be received from this program. So I highly anticipate a continuation. I'm not answering the question about what would happen. I'm sure there would be an unwinding period, but I really think that we are in an optimal position, and we're going to continue to be able to offer this service.
That's great. And then another question about the distance issue. Is it 30 miles or 30 minutes?
I might have said both. And we've gone back and forth on that since 2020. So right now it is 30 minutes.
Okay, that's really helpful.
Chuckle. We all know Boston, 30 minutes, 30 miles.
It's 30 minutes to go, 30 minutes to go 2 miles in Boston.
Exactly. And that's what's interesting about this program, right? There's not a lot of guidelines. And so we literally are defining what this expert care model should look like in the future.
Well, your data that you shared with us is very impressive on the differences between medication, adverse events, length of stay, etc. But can you say a little bit more? I think you had in your data that typically people spend 3 to 5 days in the program.
That is correct. And again, it's worth, Susan, repeating that, and I do this, the touch and go. Right now, a requirement from CMS is that you must have that evaluation either by an NP, a PA, or a physician in a brick and mortar building. I know myself, Matt, many other providers on this call would love to be able to order home hospital just like we do for home care services, but right now that's not possible. And I can accept that, and I understand the reasons why, but I'm hopeful in the future that we will be able to access home hospital just like we do home care services more directly.
Okay. And so I guess my other question, so what that means is that in order to get into home hospital, you actually have to be in one of our emergency rooms, or could you be in one of our practices where you've come in and they realize this person really needs to be hospitalized, but they could be eligible? Would they be able to do the evaluation?
This is why it's so important to get the word out about what it is. You must be at any of our 5 facilities. So we have 5 licenses: Salem, Newton Wellesley, Brigham, Mass General, and Faulkner. You must go there. You can go to the emergency room and request home hospital. You can be in your primary care office and tell your physician, I want home hospital. Your primary care physician can call any of those 5 hospitals and say, I'm sending Susan over today. Here is what would be ideal. And the quicker that we can get you through the assessment, that's all it is. And sometimes some tests, that's what our goal is. Because if you remember, I ran through them quickly, but what we can do in the home is amazing. We can get labs often in your own living room faster than you can in one of our traditional hospitals. Not the entire suite of labs, but a great suite of labs with the technology that we have today.
Great. So again, I just want to clarify. If I were, say I had pneumonia or thought I had pneumonia, and I went to see my primary care doctor and they thought I had pneumonia, would they have to send me to the emergency room to be evaluated, or could they do the evaluation? We have several hospital-based primary care practices, and geriatric medicine is in the hospital. Would I still have to go to the emergency department?
Susan, I'm a geriatric nurse practitioner. If there was any magic wand that I had to keep our patients out of the emergency room, I would. Think the best course of action right now, and likely for the next 3 to 5 years, when hopefully this waiver will be continued, is to communicate with your PCP and also have patience. The PCP might not understand that this care is available. You can tell them, I listened to this webinar and 3,000 episodes have been delivered since 2022. They will quickly try and figure out what it is, and we're happy to educate them. But yes, they must, right now, it's a requirement to, a regulatory requirement to have at least an evaluation in the emergency room.
Okay. So we also have a question about, is there any possibility that home hospital could be offered through Wentworth Douglas in New Hampshire? We have very smart people on this call.
I look forward to the day that we can extend home hospital beyond the 5 brick and mortar buildings that we have today. What I didn't go into a lot of detail with is that I will say not just like, but similar to any hospital starting up, you must apply for a license. You must get that waiver. It is a very intense, laborious process with CMS to seek that approval. We do not have plans to advance that approval with CMS right now while we are waiting to understand what the future holds for us. And so not right now, but yes, in the future.
Great.
I see someone saying CNS. I'll just jump in on that. It's my tongue's getting twisted after all those H's. It's CMS. So that is Centers for Medicare and Medicaid.
So people have asked a very important question, and that is if they want to advocate for the extension or for this program in general, where do they do that? Certainly.
Can be in touch with myself, but the most direct route is absolutely through your local policymakers. And if we can help out in helping you write about that, we're happy to do so. But again, just even spreading the word about what you probably know a lot more than your friends, loved ones, and quite honestly, some providers in our system today. So we're trying to get the word out.
Great. Great. Well, this will certainly help. I think we have one last question, and that is, can you just say a little bit more about the difference between the home health services we provide and home hospital?
Certainly. So home health, or as we call it, Mass General Brigham Home Care, it's the largest home care agency in all of New England. I know, some individuals on the call today might remember Partners Home Care back in the day. It's been rebranded to Mass General Brigham Home Care. We have over 2,000 colleagues that work in Mass General Brigham Home Care. And again, it is a service that can be accessed from your primary care office, or often is accessed after an acute hospital stay. And it typically spans 1 to 2 months with a visit once or twice a week, for a dressing change, for physical therapy, for a nursing assessment. Home care does not have food, does not have 24-hour access to care, does not have EKG monitoring that home hospital does. It does not have food, I might have already said that, does not have the 24-hour personal nursing care. And importantly, it gets down to, what does the patient need? If the patient needs a traditional hospital stay, they will receive MGB Home Hospital 24 hours a day. If they need home care twice a week, 3 times a week, maybe over 2 months, they will receive that service. Very, very different.
Right. Okay, thank you. And I have my last question, because I do a lot of work around patient experience, measurement and improvement. Are we collecting feedback from patients that have participated in the home hospital program?
We are, and the feedback is absolutely phenomenal. In fact, sometimes I chuckle. The feedback that we've received, I think it's 100%, at least today, where we are today, individuals would choose home hospital again. I hope I don't get in trouble with marketing for saying that, because we're very particular about measuring our data, but that is the type of amazing positivity that we have with this experience. It is a very robust experience. You will have a paramedic in the home, a nurse in the home, possibly a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant in the home. You'll have immediate access on video to your physician, in addition to all of those other services I mentioned. It is very, very dense.
It does sound amazing. So I don't think, excuse me, I don't think we have any other questions now. I'm going to see if Monique has any questions or has seen any other questions. And I'm going to see if Dr. Russell has any questions. And then I think I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Russell. This was wonderful, very informative. Thank you.
Thank you. And please, anyone that has the opportunity to review this time that we've spent together, be in touch. My contact information is available.
Great. Don't go anywhere, because we may get some more questions. Yeah. Go ahead.
I actually was wondering, one of the concerns that I often hear throughout the spectrum of care delivery since COVID is staffing levels. People are worried. Are there enough staff at the nursing home? They're having issues with, the visiting nurse, they couldn't find a nurse to staff that. Is this something we would be worried about for hospital at home, or do you feel like that staffing level is always maintained?
So a few things. Number one, what we also hear, we've all read this, is that clinicians in general, at some stage of their career, they are so burnt out that they may leave clinical altogether. They might become a real estate agent or whatnot. What we're finding with home hospitals specifically, it is allowing clinicians to re-enter why they went into the profession in the first place. It's a whole different level of human connection, and that's what they're seeking. We're seeing that across all of our role groups. For nurses specifically, I'm a nurse practitioner. What is different about this model is that we are able to grow because of paramedics. Paramedics practicing at the top of their license provide stellar care alongside the multidisciplinary care team. So CMS requires 1 nurse oversight a day, which can be virtual, and 2 in-person visits. Typically, we do those 2 in-person visits with the paramedics. And so again, that has allowed us to grow. And the other home hospitals, similar in size, similar results, are also using the paramedic model.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's absolutely wonderful. I I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but in addition to our home hospital program, there is a pilot underway about looking at something called SNF at home. And what that is for patients who are eligible to go to a rehab for, say, short-term rehab, like let's say you had a knee replacement in the hospital and you'd typically go to a rehab. We're going to actually be doing a study looking at, well, what about if instead of going to a rehab facility, we brought the staff from a rehab facility into a patient's home? So there's always in geriatrics a lot in this space. No one wants to be in an institution. And we recognize that sometimes it's a necessary thing. But if I had my druthers and I can watch my own TV and not listen to the person in the bed next door make their sounds, I would much rather that. So there are also, when you think about the spectrum of care delivery for our patients, we'll have people even that are long-term care nursing home eligible patients who might be eligible for something called a PACE program. And what that is that's the program of all-inclusive care of the elderly. And it's offered for people who meet the criteria for nursing home level of care for long-term and have both Medicare and Medicaid. And they're managed. It's like an adult day health that you go to during the day where you receive your meal. There's a nurse, there's a doctor, nurse practitioner present, and then you go home to your home at night. So there's all sorts of cool programming in geriatrics, and we're always trying to make that a more palatable experience for older adults in their healthcare experience.
Great. We have one last question. So this is for Heather. Any considerations for partnerships with CBOs? I'm not sure what this, anyway. Capital SCES has an interesting partnership with our local health system that has been standing since 2013 that started as a CMS demonstration.
I need help with the acronyms, either Matt or the individual that's
community-based organizations.
Such as ASAPs?
Not like victory programs. Like victory programs or
PACE programs,
like adult day health programs, like community agencies that can be great sites of care.
So I also come from the senior care options program years and years ago. So I understand ASAPs and federally qualified health centers and all they can provide. I think what's important right now is to get the word out about what is available. We are not currently working directly with a PACE or directly with a FQHC or directly with an ASAP because it's that acute care in the home. But to Matt's point earlier about where are you going to get the workforce? It could be an option for us in the future. So I think what's important right now is for those entities that might be on the line to, again, ask for questions, advocate that your patients have awareness for this offering, and we would just like to offer it to more individuals.
So Heather, another question. Can you say a little bit more about how much of the care is delivered in person versus virtually?
Mm-hmm. So the minimum is 2 visits in the home per day. So that's a minimum. And that the minimum would be 2 paramedics. You could have 2 nurse visits. You could have and then again, what I think the other important piece before we close for this call is for individuals to realize what I've been speaking about today is the Mass General Brigham model of care. The Mass General Brigham model of care is different from other models of care in Massachusetts today and also across the US. So I think it's important to ask what the home hospital model of care would be if you were outside of the Mass General Brigham. But everyone is required in the home from a regulatory perspective of 2 in-home visits per day. Mass General Brigham layers on either the nurse practitioner or the physician assistant as needed, or the physician as needed. We also layer on that home health aid as needed. And I do believe we are one of the only programs out of the 300 in the US today that offers that home health aid as part of the service, because we feel how we understand how important that is.
Hey, that's great. That's great. I think that, oh, again, one last question. Can you say a little bit about how palliative care fits into this model? I know that was on the continuum that you showed, but can you maybe say a little bit about that?
Another very important offering near and dear to my heart. So I talked about the new healthcare at home division, and I often do this within Mass General Brigham. So again, I have the good fortune of being the inaugural president from 2 years ago, and we are defining the portfolio of services within healthcare at home within Mass General Brigham. So how I would talk about it is that the first vertical really is the largest. It's that home care VNA service. The second is home hospital that we've been speaking about today. The third vertical we have is palliative at home, which is an extension of our Mass General Hospital palliative service. And you also heard me speak about home hospital emergency services, which is another vertical. We will continue to evaluate what our communities need and refine these service offerings. But our most prominent service offerings are really the home care, the home hospital, and certainly palliative care today.
Great, thank you. And the palliative care, I presume, is delivered by our palliative care physicians that are, yeah, okay.
That's correct.
So, thank you. I think I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Russell, because I know you've got some parting comments and important information to share.
Excellent, thank you. So I do want to just make a plug for home-based palliative care. I had the pleasure of being the interim medical director of that program last year, and the nurse practitioners and social worker that staff that program provide additional support for people within the catchment area who are dealing with life-limiting illness, and they are all so phenomenally expert in their field. And I had the pleasure to go out and see patients with them, and it is again truly, when you get a chance to go into a patient's home and provide the care, as Heather said, it just reconnects you to your oath and to the delight, the reason why you went into this field. So it's a very excellent thing. I do just want to speak to the fact that I know I probably said this at the last town hall. Patients over age 65 are recommended to receive a COVID booster this spring. There's a new variant out there called the FLIRT variant, for which they expect to have an updated vaccine sometime in the fall. COVID is not absent from our lives. It's always going to continue to be you might be having a fabulous time at a party, but there's that one guest who will just never leave. That's kind of what COVID has become. I just recommend that you all go to your local pharmacies, get the get the vaccine for the spring, which is the same vaccine that they gave in the fall, but it's just an updated booster for people over age 65. And then in the fall, then you'll get your next round. We are continuing to receive calls from patients who are having COVID, and I'm not just saying this, I'm also a recent victim of it. I was on vacation and came down with it and didn't know it. So I was fine to come back to work. I was fine just in time to come back to work. So my vacation wasn't good, but so this was an absolutely phenomenal talk. And Heather, thank you so much for giving us that overview. And I hope you all get a sense that we're always looking for ways to make this experience more patient-centered and to really define a program that just works for people in their lives. So thanks for your time and your attention. And I wish you all, now I look out, the sun has come out. So now go out and get your vitamin D therapy. And we'll see you next month at our town hall, which I can't remember if we've decided on a topic. We haven't yet, so
We haven't.
we'll have to scramble for one, but it'll be fun. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather. This was wonderful.